Nearly 1 year since I've held a pipette, changed media for cells, even done an experiment in the lab, because it's been 1 year since I left academia. So if you're new to the channel, you're probably wondering, oh, I've come for PhD advice and this guy's not in academia anymore. For context, I took a break from around about March last year. It was half choice, kind of by choice, and half being forced. I made an entire video, link is down below and link is also here, about how I left academia for social media, being more of a creator and doing more creative based things for the past year. I thought I'd share my thoughts on, was it a good decision? What am I doing now? And essentially, will I actually return back to the lab? Stay tuned to find out. So to add a bit of context, so you don't have to watch that full video yet, I did a postdoc after my second postdoc after my PhD. Finished my PhD in 2018. I did a postdoc till 2021, and then I did another one about 2021 to 2. And it was in that postdoc that I really decided that I needed a break, because many of you might have watched my main channel video, PhD the side you don't see. You might have seen the kind of difficulties I had to face during my PhD. I faced a lot of difficulties in my first postdoc, and in my second postdoc, I basically got harassed, abused in the sense of verbally abused, and then I got blackmailed or threatened that if I don't comply, that my name would be removed off a paper. Bearing in mind, I designed the whole kind of clinical lab project. It was a clinical project. I collated all of the data in record time, and I didn't want to be in that scenario again. It was very uncomfortable, very stressful, very unnerving. You know, even dealing with emails, presser calling me on my mobile phone, and then I realized that, hold on, I need to take a break. I've been working so hard for so long and I'm actually going backwards, right? I wasn't making headway financially, any headway in terms of, you know, career progression and research, so I needed a break. And the reason that was kind of the force part, but the choice part was that my content was doing really well on Instagram. It led me to work for the Dashboard Buddy. I mentioned this in the video. And for Microform, these are brands that I edit for, I work with, and that's how I earn my living at the moment. I still have a part-time research data management role in the university. Again, I'm not actively in academia, I'm not actively doing research, and more importantly, I haven't been in the lab properly doing any experiments for over a year. So how do I feel? So I have really thought about this a lot over the past months in terms of, right, what am I doing? Am I happy about leaving the lab? And do I miss the lab work? Yes, I do, because it's something that I did for 7 years. You know, when you put your blood, sweat and tears in something for 7 years and then you stop doing it, you will miss it. I do miss it in terms of being in the lab, you know, bouncing off colleagues and students and researchers, and having that, you know, researcher life within the lab that it's only found in there. You can't really replace it with something else. So I do miss that. I do miss wearing a lab coat and doing experiments and getting happy when it works, and then getting really sad when it doesn't, which more happens than the other part. So I do, but here's where it gets interesting. I miss the lab work, but I don't miss academia. Do I miss the stress? No. Do I miss the constant work, like 24/7, you know, nearly 7 days a week? No. Do I miss the fact that it sounds flexible, but you're working all the time, and when you take time off, you feel guilty because you're falling behind, whether it's your supervisor chasing you or your boss chasing you. When I was doing my postdoc, constantly getting nagged. Do I miss that? No, I don't. Do I miss being harassed, abused, being blackmailed, you know, being treated badly and poorly, being disrespected? No. Now, I understand this can happen with a lot of roles outside of academia, you know, I understand that, but I'm on about what I faced personally in my experience of being in academia. I don't miss those things, and I don't think anybody would. Now, I do see on social media people that I follow and interact with, you know, being in the lab, and it makes me think about memories back then, and there are some good memories in amongst the problems that I faced. And then look back at my old videos, so I repurposed some of that content just for me to remember life in the lab. But it leads me on to this very important topic, which is the cost versus reward ratio. I want to talk about that now in terms of what I mean by this, in terms of me leaving academia and doing what I do now. So what do I mean by this cost reward ratio? Basically, does the reward of being in the lab and being in academia, is it worth the cost for me and cost for anybody? Now, cost is this financial cost is mental health cost, physical health cost, the price you have to pay to be in academia and to stay in academia, basically. And this is what I'm referring to. So having been out of it for a while and see how my life is now, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not a millionaire, you know, earning thousands of pounds a month being a content creator. No, not even close. It still is a grind, still have to work hard, still have to spend a lot of time editing and doing work and finding new clients and stuff like that. But I'm more respected, I have a bit more autonomy, I can go to the gym in the afternoon, I can eat better, you know, I may not earn it probably the same amount, probably earn a little bit more, but I have more control over my life. Now, if I look at the reward of being in the lab, you know, it's great being in the lab, you're contributing to research, you know, in the area that you're in, which is amazing, which I still love to do, 100%. And the reward is hopefully getting your names on papers, but it comes at the cost of you lose a bit more autonomy. You have to work extra hard in the sense of hours, you know, a lot of the weekends go, and believe me, I used to work weekends all the time, I still do, but it's that notion of, I had a lot of mental health implications, so it costs kind of my mental health. Physical health, I lost a lot of weight. If you look back at my PhD, I try to find a photo, started in here, and even when I was doing my post, I wasn't still looking after myself properly, I wasn't eating well, whereas now I have more control over that, which is amazing, because health is, well, something that Stephen Bartlett says, who's an incredible figure in the content creation world, and, you know, as an entrepreneur, he says everything he has is stemmed on that one pillar, which is health, and something I undervalued, and I still do, but a little bit less. And then it made me realize this cost to reward ratio of, is the reward for me personally, does it outweigh the cost that it costed me, and it probably costs me if I go back into it? And I'm not sure it is at this moment in time. And the reason why I say that is I value other things like spending time with family, spending time with loved ones, you know, looking after myself, having more control over my life, and, you know, creating memories. Those are very important to me, and sometimes when I think about academia, I couldn't do what I do now if I was in academia, and that's what scares me. So the question you're probably all thinking about is, do I regret it? The answer is no. I do miss the lab, as I mentioned earlier, but do I regret leaving academia? And I don't think I can say that. And if I was to go into detail, it would be like a whole hour podcast perhaps of everything I went through. You probably understand why I've taken a break. Now, I say break because I don't know what life holds. You know, it could be that I become a supervisor and I'm not in the lab, but my foot is in research, and I've got all of this content stuff going on. So, no, I can't say I regret it. And I know a lot of other people who have left academia. There's a lot of people who are in academia and are thriving, and good on them, rightly so. I'm not saying academia is a bad place. I'm on about my experience was bad. And I know many other people's experiences are bad, and there's a lot that needs to change in academia. But I'm not trying to deter anybody away. I'm just trying to give my real depiction of what I went through in academia, why I've taken a break, and my thoughts now on being away from it for about a year, which it's been a pleasant break, I have to admit. So if I don't regret it, what does the future hold? Now, I think, in my opinion, I'm doing a lot of content for my own page, Instagram page, Aamir.phd, for this channel as well. And it's to help grow ResearchTribe, which is a digital platform that I'm trying to create where I share more in-depth kind of advice, knowledge in terms of time with me, and sharing all the things that I learned in a bit more detail in terms of tutorials, how to get into a PhD, how to do a PhD, how to write a thesis, how to write how to write a research paper, how to present well, and sharing more in-depth in terms of video courses, webinars, meetings, Q&As into that platform. So running this kind of content creation agency, essentially, where I'm editing for other people, is to help fund me to then do the ResearchTribe stuff. And that's kind of the plan at the moment. Now, I do want to go into academia in the sense of maybe look into an area that I'm interested in and just give it another shot, perhaps. So that is on the cards, I feel, but I'm not in any rush, I don't feel. And that's kind of the status at where I'm at right now. So the question remains, would I go back into academia? Will I? Remains to be seen, but I will keep you posted on different social media platforms that I'm on. But for now, I want to continue this kind of content creation life for my page and how I'm editing for others, see where it takes me for the rest of the year, and then maybe review that, maybe another stab into academia, especially if there's a research area that I'm interested in. So there's still that pull, but for now, I am happy being a content creator, video editor, and that type of life, which is remarkable. I never thought I would be in this position, so I'm grateful for it. It's been interesting learning curve. So that's it in terms of my thoughts about being away from academia for over a year. If you want to check out in detail why I truly left, the video about how I left academia for social media is over here, and a few relevant videos related to that in terms of the creator life in the video description down below. Do subscribe to the channel if you would like to help me reach that 1K mark, so I can provide more advice, tips and advice for the research life, as I like to say. But I shall be signing out for now. See you soon. Take care.